I woke up to the sound of hundreds of people whispering. Not in a hospital. Not in a battlefield. Not anywhere that made sense. My consciousness slammed into a body that wasn't mine so violently I almost collapsed. My chest heaved. My pulse pounded. My vision swam in and out of focus. A choir was singing softly. Flowers were everywhere. Golden candles flickered along the walls. Rows of guests sat in polished wooden benches, all dressed like royalty. And I was standing at the altar. As a groom. My mind spun. Where am I? What body is this? Why am I here? Then a wave of foreign memories rushed into my skull, crashing like a tidal wave. The name of the body I was in. Adrian Vale. Heir to one of the 4 founding families of this world. A world where awakened powers existed. A world where your bloodline decided your destiny. And today was his wedding day. Or rather, what was supposed to be his wedding day. Because the woman standing in front of me, wearing a white gown more expensive than a kingdom, was trembling. Her breath shaky. Her fingers cold. Her eyes filled not with love, but fear. Her name surfaced from Adrian's memories like a ghost. My bride. She looked at me with guilt so sharp it could split stone. Guests noticed something was wrong. A hush fell. The priest hesitated. Elena, he whispered, you may give your vow. Her voice cracked. Before she could finish, the massive wooden doors behind us slammed open. The sound echoed through the entire hall like thunder tearing the sky apart. Everyone turned at once. A tall figure stepped into the chapel. Confident. Arrogant. Eyes burning with a storm's intensity. Clothes black as midnight. A smirk carved across his lips like victory itself. A rising awakener. A prodigy of destructive power. The very man Elena had been secretly meeting for months. The original story's main protagonist. And Adrian Vale's downfall. Cale walked forward with his hands in his pockets, as if he owned the entire ceremony. And Elena's face. Oh, her face lit up like she had just seen the sun after years of darkness. She ripped off her veil. Cale, you came. Not a whisper. Not a confession. But a declaration. Right in front of me. Right in front of everyone. Cale stopped just a breath away from her. I told you I wouldn't let them force you into this marriage, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. If the Vale family tries to chain your future, I'll destroy them myself. Gasps erupted. Some stood. Some covered their mouths. Some looked at me with pity. Adrian's old emotions surged inside me. Pain, humiliation, disbelief, but they no longer controlled me. Because beneath them, my true power awakened like a sleeping god stretching its limbs. I felt my aura pulse, silent, ancient, immortal. Cale pointed at me. Step aside, Adrian. She doesn't want you. Elena grabbed Cale's arm. I choose him, she said. Not you. Not this family. I'm done pretending. The entire hall began buzzing, an earthquake of whispers. She chose Cale. Isn't this treason against the families? Poor Adrian. His bride left him at the altar, humiliating. Adrian's heart hurt. But I was done hurting. Pain had no place in the heart of an immortal. Slowly, I raised my head and looked at Cale with a calm that chilled even him. Are you finished? Cale's smirk faded. What did you say? I asked, I repeated, if you're finished. The air pressure shifted. Candles flickered wildly. A few glass ornaments cracked under the sudden weight of my aura. Guests backed away instinctively. Something ancient, something dangerous, had awakened inside the groom they all believed to be weak. Cale took a step back without meaning to. What is this pressure? He muttered. Elena clutched his arm. Cale, something's wrong, let's just go. But I wasn't letting them walk out after humiliating me in front of hundreds of witnesses. I spoke clearly, my voice echoing through the entire hall. Nobody leaves. The heavy doors slammed shut behind Cale with a force that shook dust from the ceiling. The crowd gasped again. A few guards reached for their weapons. My eyes shifted to them, just slightly. Their weapons shattered in their hands. Panic spread like wildfire. Cale clenched his fists, electricity gathering around him. You awakened, he whispered. But you couldn't even spark a basic ability last year. I took a step forward. Every light in the chapel dimmed. Every flame bent toward me. Every person felt the weight of an existence beyond their understanding. No, I said softly. I didn't awaken. Kale frowned. Then what are you? I transcended. And the moment the words left my mouth, the world trembled. The first part of Adrian Vale's new destiny had just begun.
The chapel, moment ago filled with music and celebration, now felt like a prison of collapsing air. Every window trembled. Every candle bowed toward me. Every heart in the room hammered with fear. Kale stared at me with a confusion that bordered on terror. You transcended, he repeated, as if the word itself didn't belong in this world. Elena held onto him tightly, her voice trembling. Kale, let's leave. Something feels wrong, so wrong. But they weren't leaving. Not after turning a wedding ceremony into a stage for betrayal. Not after shattering the dignity of the man whose body I now inhabited. Not without consequences. I lifted a hand. Every door, window, and wall reinforced itself with invisible force, layer after layer of shimmering energy forming like a cage of light. The guests panicked. Why are the exits sealed? I can't breathe. What is this pressure? Is this still Adrian Vale? Kale finally regained a fraction of his arrogance. He stepped in front of Elena, lightning forming around his arms, blue sparks crackling, vibrating, roaring. His awakened ability, temp his veins, one of the rarest elemental talents in the city. If it's a fight you want, he growled, then I'll end you fast. Elena gasped. Kale, no, not here. But I didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. I simply tilted my head and observed him like one might observe a child throwing a tantrum. Fight! I said quietly. You think this is a fight? Kale's lightning surged stronger. Yes. Then you're even weaker than I thought. His pupils tightened with fury. That's when he charged. The air burst open with wind pressure. Lightning screamed around him. Cracks formed across the chapel floor as his power gathered into a single devastating strike aimed directly at my chest. Gasps rippled through the hall. That's a killing blow. Adrian has no awakened ability. He'll die. Someone stop Kale. But before his lightning-coated fist could touch me, I moved. Just a small movement, barely noticeable. I lifted one finger, and the entire world froze. Kale's attack stopped 1 inch from my body. Lightning suspended midair like a sculpture of burning glass. His eyes widened in disbelief. What did you do? The lightning dissolved, slithering away like frightened animals. I simply decided your attack wasn't worth my time, I replied. Kale stumbled backward, suddenly aware of the unfathomable power coiled beneath my calm expression. Elena's voice cracked. Adrian, who are you? I looked at her, not with sadness, not with anger, but with perfect, icy clarity. The man you abandoned, I said, but not the weak version you built your betrayal on. I stepped forward. Kale tried again to summon lightning, but the electricity refused to appear. Instead, it crackled uselessly along his fingertips, like a candle flickering in the rain. What's happening to my ability? He shouted. You're standing inside my domain, I answered. And inside my domain, only one will decide reality. Kale didn't understand, but the elders in the crowd did. One of them whispered, trembling. That's not awakening, that's sovereign-level energy control. But sovereigns only exist in legends. Adrian Vale isn't supposed to be this strong. Their fear thickened the air. Kale swallowed hard. You said you transcended, he muttered. What does that even mean? I met his eyes. It means I've lived 1,000 lifetimes, I whispered. It means I've walked through worlds that would turn you to dust. It means I am not bound by the limits of this reality. Elena's knees weakened. The priest collapsed in fear. Someone screamed. And then came the moment no one expected. A slow clap echoed from the balcony above. All heads snapped upward. An old man, robed in the ceremonial colors of the awakened council, stepped forward with a calculating, intrigued smile. His presence alone made the room tremble even more violently than Kale's lightning. Counselor Thorne, one of the strongest awakeners alive. He gazed at me like I was a puzzle he'd spent his entire life searching for. Adrian Vale, he said, voice thick with fascination. Or should I say, the thing wearing Adrian Vale. The entire chapel froze. Kale turned pale. Elena staggered backward. A chilling silence filled the air. He could see through me, through the soul inside this body. He knew, and I knew he knew, so I didn't deny it. I met his gaze, calm and unwavering. Interesting, he murmured. Very, very interesting. He tapped his cane lightly, and the sound boomed like thunder. In all my years, I have never witnessed a vessel survive an immortal descent. I see now, he continued. You are not awakened. You are not evolved. You are transcendent. The room erupted in whispers. Immortal descent. That's impossible. Myths. Adrian Vale is something else entirely. Kale took a shaky step backward. Elena hid behind him. But Counselor Thorne wasn't finished. He pointed his cane at me. Your emergence will shift the balance of the entire world, he declared. And every awakened family will come for you. Kale gasped. Come for him? Why? Thorne's eyes gleamed. Because power like his reshapes history. And history is never rewritten peacefully. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because deep inside me, the immortal power pulsed again. Radiant, ancient, limitless. And the world felt it. Part 2 ended that day with the truth revealed. Adrian Vale was no longer merely a groom abandoned at the altar. He had become something far greater. A threat, a miracle, a storm waiting to be unleashed. The moment Counselor Thorne revealed the truth of my existence, the atmosphere in the chapel changed again. From fear to something far more dangerous. The kind that starts wars. Thorne's cane tapped once more. Each tap warped the air, as if he were striking reality itself. You made a spectacular entrance, Adrian Vale, he said, or whatever name your true self owns. I watched him with calm indifference. He wasn't my enemy, not yet, but he was far from an ally. Across the room, Kale finally snapped out of his shock. He pushed Elena behind him and glared at Thorne. Why would the families come after him? He demanded. Adrian is nothing special. Thorne raised a brow. Nothing special, he echoed. Boy, the energy around him is older than every awakened lineage combined. Kale blinked. What does that even mean? It means, Thorne replied, the creature standing in front of you is closer to a natural disaster than a human. The guest gasped. Elena clutched her dress so tightly her knuckles whitened. Even she, who minutes ago had humiliated me, could no longer hide the trembling in her voice. Adrian, what are you? I turned calmly toward her. For the first time in your life, I said, you are asking the right question. Before I could continue, the walls themselves began to ripple, as if shadows were crawling out from the cracks. Dozens of figures materialized around the chapel, cloaked, masked, radiating deadly awakened energy. The air chilled. The guests screamed and ducked. Kale raised his arms, panicked. Elena, get back! But even he felt the overwhelming power emanating from them. Counselor Thorne stood straight, eyes narrowing. The shadow envoys, he muttered. I expected the families to act quickly, but not this quickly. Kale swallowed hard. Elena, stay close. This isn't normal. I stepped forward, unfazed. Which family sent you? I asked. None of the envoys answered, but one stepped out from the group. His mask was black obsidian. His cloak carried the emblem of a phoenix engulfed in flames. My host body recognized it instantly. The Ignis Dominion, one of the 4 founding families. Their envoy knelt. Right there, in front of me. Hundreds of eyes widened. Ilara Ignis sends this message. The envoy said, voice heavy with respect. In accordance with ancient law, any being who manifests sovereign-level aura must be seized. He paused, then lowered his head even further. Or sworn loyalty to. The room broke into chaos. Ilara Ignis wants him. That's insane. Adrian is a Vale. Why would the Ignis matriarch try to recruit him? This breaks the treaties. Kale clenched his jaw. You're trying to take him. Yes, the envoy said simply. We serve power, and he is power incarnate. Elena stepped behind Kale, trembling. He's not even awakened. He can't join the Ignis family. The envoy's voice sharpened. He is not awakened. He is above us. That statement alone shattered the last pieces of normalcy inside the chapel. The envoy extended a sealed scroll toward me, an ancient contract bearing the Ignis Dominion sigil. "Join us," he said, "and the Dominion will bend to you. Reject us." His voice grew a shade colder. "And we will take you by force." Kale lost it. "Are you insane? You don't take Adrian Vale. This is the Vale family's heir." The envoy tilted his head. "The Vale family?" he asked. "Do you see any of them coming to help him?" A painful silence followed. Even Elena froze. Because he was right. Not a single member of the Vale family had stepped forward. Not one. They weren't here to protect Adrian. They weren't here to defend the honor of their heir. They weren't here at all. Counselor Thorne shifted, amused. Seems the Vales abandoned their long before his bride did. A hush swallowed the room. Kale stiffened. Elena went pale as chalk. My eyes scanned the crowd. And then I said words that made even the shadows tremble. "I owe nothing to the Vale family." Gasps erupted. Kale's expression cracked. Elena staggered forward in disbelief. "But, Adrian, you're the heir." I corrected. "But a family that doesn't protect its own isn't mine." The envoy bowed deeper. "Then accept our pact." I interrupted. The envoy froze. "No," he repeated. "You refuse the Ignis Dominion." "I refuse," I said, "to serve any family." The air turned ice cold. Silence spread like poison. Even Thorne's smirk faltered. The envoy stood stiffly, fists clenched. "You understand what this means?" I nodded. "It means they will hunt me." "It means war," he said gravely. I stepped closer, my aura rising like a tidal wave. "Then tell Alara Ignis this." The walls shook. Shadows crawled backward. Even the counselor's eyes widened as the floor cracked beneath us. "I am not prey," I said, "and I do not run." The envoy swallowed hard. "And what are you then?" I leaned in. "Something this world has not seen in 1,000 generations." A pulse of energy exploded outward, blasting every envoy off their feet. Kale shielded Elena, gritting his teeth. Counselor Thorne exhaled sharply. "So it begins," he whispered. And just like that, the 4 founding families declared me an enemy, and the world began to shift around me. The
Night
moment
fell like a
Counselor
black
Thorne
curtain
revealed
over
the
the city,
truth of my existence.
but the darkness
The
wasn't
atmosphere in
ordinary.
the chapel changed.
It was heavy,
again.
electric,
From fear,
alive,
to something
the
far
4
more
founding
dangerous.
families had declared
The
war,
kind that
and
starts
their forces were moving.
Thorne's cane tapped
I could
once
feel
more.
it.
Hundreds
Each
of
tap
awakened
warped the air,
individuals,
as if he was
each
striking
trained
reality
for one
itself.
purpose. You've
The
made a
streets
spectacular
twisted with
entrance,
tension,
as I
Adrian
stepped
Vale,
outside the
he
Vale
said,
estate,
or whatever
the air
name
carried the
your true
metallic
self
scent
owns.
of impending
I
conflict.
watched him with calm
Shadows
indifference.
stretched
He
unnaturally
wasn't my
long,
enemy, not
trembling
yet,
like they sensed
but he
the
was
storm
far
that
from
was
an
coming.
ally.
Kale
Across the
Drayden
room,
appeared at my
Kale
side.
finally
Though his
snapped out of
confidence
the
had
shock.
faltered.
He pushed
Elena
Elena
followed
behind
him and glared
pale,
at Thorne.
uncertain.
Why would the families
whispering.
come after him?
You
He
can't
demanded.
fight them all.
Adrian is nothing
I
special.
didn't answer.
Because
Thorne raised
words
a
were
brow.
irrelevant now.
Nothing special.
The first wave
He
struck
echoed.
just as the moon
Boy,
rose. The
figures
energy
cloaked
around
in
him
black
was
and
older
gold,
than every awakened
bearing the
lineage
emblems of
combined.
the Ignis Dominion.
Kale blinked.
The Ashar collective.
What does that even
and
mean?
the twin families of Merrick and
It
Thalorn
means,
descended
Thorne
upon the
replied,
city.
the
They
creature
moved
standing
as
in
one,
front of you is
a
closer
river
to
of
a
natural
natural
energy,
disaster than a
their
human.
powers glowing like stars in
guest
a dying
gasped.
sky.
Elena
I
clutched
felt
her
the ground
dress so
shiver
tightly
beneath
her
me.
knuckles white.
And then I smiled.
Even she,
who minutes
I
ago had
whispered,
humiliated me,
the first
could no
warrior
longer
charged,
hide the
a
trembling
massive
in her
brute,
voice, cloaked in
Adrian,
fire and shadows.
what are you?
A single
I
swing of
turned
his axe
calmly
could
toward
obliterate
her.
a building.
For the first
I
time in your
raised a
life,
hand.
I said,
Not fast.
You are asking
Not
the right
angry.
question.
Just
Before
firm.
I could continue,
The axe shattered
the
in
walls
midday.
themselves began
Flames
to ripple,
froze, as if
suspended like
shadows were
molten
crawling
glass.
out from the cracks.
The warrior fell to
Dozens
his
of
knees,
figures materialized
trembling,
around the chapel,
eyes wide with
cloaked,
terror.
masked,
The others hesitated,
radiating deadly
Kale looked
awakened
at me,
energy.
disbelief
The air
flashing
chilled.
across his face.
The guests screamed
This-
and ducked.
How are you?
Kale raised his arms.
I didn't
Panicked.
answer.
Elena,
I didn't need
get
to.
back.
The next wave
But
approached.
even he felt the
A sorceress,
overwhelming power
her
emanating
staff
from
crackling
them.
with ice lightning.
Counselor Thorne
stepped
stood straight,
forward.
eyes
She
narrowing.
hurled a torrent of
The
jagged
shadow
energy at me.
envoys.
Time
muttered.
slowed.
I
Every
expected the
particle
families to act
airbent
quickly,
around my aura.
but not this
The
quickly.
energy shattered on
Kale
contact,
swallowed hard.
ricocheting
Elena,
harmlessly into the sky.
stay close.
The battle
This
had
isn't
begun,
normal.
and yet It
I
felt like
stepped forward,
performance,
unfazed.
every strike,
Which family
every
sent
spell,
you?
every attack
I
against me
asked.
failed before
None of the
even
envoys
touched me.
answered.
I moved
one
through them
stepped
like a
out from
force
the
of
group.
nature. His mask
A
was
whirlwind
black
of
obsidian.
golden light,
His cloak
energy
carried the
bending,
emblem of a
enemies
phoenix engulfed
scattering.
in flames.
None could withstand
My
the
host
immortal
body
power that
recognized
now
it
resided in
instantly.
Adrian Vale's
The Ignis
body.
Dominion,
Elena
one
watched
of the
from a distance,
four founding families,
frozen in awe and
their
terror.
envoy knelt.
Kale's face
right
was
there,
pale,
in
sweat
front
running
of
down
me.
his brow.
Hundreds of
his
eyes
powers
widened.
flickering unpredictably.
Ilara Ignis
He
sends his
realized,
message.
finally,
the envoy said
that the rules had
voice heavy
changed.
with respect.
I did not
In
fight to
accordance
kill,
with ancient
yet
law,
I fought
any
to
being who
demonstrate the
manifests
truth.
sovereign level aura must
The
be
ground
seized.
cracked beneath me.
He paused,
Lightning danced
then
in my
lowered his head
fingertips,
even further.
and shadows recoiled as the
sworn
world
loyalty
itself
to.
acknowledged my emergence.
The room broke
But
into
then,
chaos.
the true test
Ilara
arrived.
Ignis
From
wants
the
him.
distance, a
That's
figure
insane.
emerged,
Adrian
larger than any
Vale.
human. Cloaked
Why
in
would the
darkness,
Ignis matriarch
eyes
try to
glowing
recruit
red.
him? The herald of the
This
Merrick
breaks
family.
the treaties.
A being of pure
Kale
destructive
clenched his
force.
jaw. Its
You're
arrival
trying to
alone
take him.
caused tremors,
Yes,
shattering the remnants
the
of the
envoy
first
said
wave.
simply.
Kale
He
whispered,
served power.
and he is
That's
power
the apex.
incarnate. They've sent the apex.
Elena stepped behind Kale.
The apex
trembling.
warrior approached.
Is not even
Steps
awakened.
causing the earth to quake. A silent
can't
roar
join the
emanating
Ignis
from its
family.
core. It was
The
designed to
envoy's
kill
voice
me,
sharpened. He
crafted
is
from
not
generations
awakened.
of forbidden power.
He is above us.
Forged in ancient rituals
That
meant to
statement
eliminate
alone
shattered
shattered
the
the
last pieces of
I
normalcy
stepped
inside
forward.
the chapel.
My aura
The
flamed.
envoy extended a sealed
Blinding
scroll
golden
toward
light
me,
bursting from
an
my
ancient
body.
contract
The
bearing
city
the Ignis
trembled.
Dominion
The
signal.
moon seemed to
Join
shatter
us,
in the sky.
he said.
The first
And the
strike
Dominion will
came,
bend to
a
you.
massive fist smashing
Reject
into the
us.
ground where I had stood.
His voice grew
Debris
a shade
flew in
colder,
every direction.
and we will take you
The
by
shockwave
force.
tore apart streets.
Kale lost
collapsing walls.
Are you insane?
I hadn't moved.
You don't take.
I didn't
Adrian
need to.
Vale.
A
This
flick
is
of
the
my
Vale
hand,
family's heir.
and the apex's momentum
The envoy
stopped
tilted
mid-air.
his head.
Its eyes
The Vale
widened.
family.
It realized
Too
too
late.
see any of them
That force
coming to
alone
help
would
him.
not prevail.
A painful
fight
silence
escalated.
followed.
Kale
Even
unleashed
Elena
everything he
froze.
had,
Because
Elena
he was
clutched
right.
at his sleeve.
Not a
terrified,
single member of the Vale
powerless.
family had stepped
But I was
forward.
everywhere at once.
Not one.
Blending
They
speed,
weren't here to protect
energy,
Adrian.
precision.
They weren't
Every
here to
attack
defend
that
the
should
honor
cut,
of their heir.
pierced,
They
or
weren't
destroyed
here at
failed.
all.
By the
Council
end of the
Thorn
night,
shifted.
the
Amused.
first wave of enemies
Seems
lay
the Vales
broken.
abandoned
The
their
apex
before
warrior
his bride
staggered
did.
back, blood dripping
A hush
from wounds that
swallowed
had
the
never
room.
imagined receiving.
Kale stiffened.
Kale
Elena
fell to
went
one
pale
knee,
as chalk.
exhausted,
My eyes scanned the
trembling,
crowd.
staring
And
at
then
me
I
like
said
he'd seen a
words
god.
that made even the
Elena's
shadows
lips
tremble.
quivered.
Adrian,
I owe nothing
what-
to the Vale family.
What are you? Gasped
I looked at
erupted.
the horizon,
Kale's
where
expression
distant
cracked.
fires marked the
Elena
approach of the other
staggered
three
forward in
families.
disbelief.
The battle
But
was far
Adrian,
from over.
you're
But
the
one
heir.
truth had been cemented in the hearts of all who had
I
dared confront me
corrected.
that night.
But a family
He
that
was a
doesn't
storm,
protect its
a
own
force that would
isn't
bend
mine.
the world to his will.
The envoy
And nothing,
bowed deeper.
nothing
Then
could
accept our
stop him.
pact.
The city
I
lay in ruin.
interrupted.
The families had
envoy
suffered their
froze.
first true
No,
defeat. He repeated.
and yet the
You
war was only
refuse the
beginning.
Ignis
I
Dominion.
turned toward Kale and
I
Elena.
refuse.
The night
I
wind
said,
swept through the
to
broken
serve any
streets.
family. Tomorrow,
The air
I
turned
said,
ice cold.
voice calm, but
Silence
lethal.
spread like poison.
They will bring everything
Even
they
Thorn's
have.
smirk faltered.
And
The
we will be
envoy
ready.
stood stiffly.
Kale whispered,
Fists clenched,
still shaking.
You understand
I
what
smiled
this means.
faintly. Not
I
ready
nodded.
enough.
It
We
means
will
they
be
will hunt
unstoppable.
me. The
It
first
means
night of
war,
war had ended.
he said gravely.
But the legend,
I stepped
the
closer.
rebirth of
My
Adrian
aura
Vale
rising like a
immortal
tidal
force,
wave was only
then
beginning
tell
to
Ilara
right itself.
Ignis this. The walls shook. Shadows crawled backward. Even the councillor's eyes widened as the floor cracked beneath us. I am not prey, I said, and I do not run. The envoy swallowed hard. And what are you then? I leaned in. Something this world has not seen in 1,000 generations. A pulse of energy exploded outward, blasting every envoy off their feet. Kale shielded Elena, gritting his teeth. Councillor Thorn exhaled sharply. So it begins, he whispered, and just like that, the 4 founding families declared me an enemy, and the world began to shift around me. The dawn broke over a city scarred by the chaos of the previous night. Smoke curled into the pale morning sky. Streets lay cracked and splintered. The air still vibrated with residual energy, the echoes of a battle no one would forget. I stood atop the highest tower of the Vale estate, looking down at the destruction below. Kale was at my side, bruised but alive. Elena clung to him, her hands trembling, eyes wide with fear and something else, respect. They had seen it all. They had witnessed a force beyond comprehension. And now, they would never forget it. I lowered my gaze to the streets below. The remnants of the 4 families' first assault lay scattered. Soldiers, awakened warriors, and envoys alike, defeated. None had dared to challenge me directly after witnessing my power in full. A soft smile touched my lips. The world thought it had prepared for me. It had not. I turned toward Kale, my voice calm, measured. The families will regroup, I said. They will send stronger warriors next. They will try to crush me under the weight of their legacy. Kale swallowed, nodding slowly. And we? What do we do? I looked at Elena. Her eyes, wide with fear moments ago, now held something deeper, a spark of awe, a realization of the force I had become. We survive, I said. We rise, and we show them that the age of the founding families is over. I extended my hand. Kale took it hesitantly, and Elena joined in, forming a silent pact. We were no longer bystanders in a story written for us. We were the authors now. As I descended the tower, I could feel the world reacting. The city itself seemed alive, whispering in a language only I could understand. The air was charged with possibility, danger, and power. Word would travel fast. Whispers in the dark, rumors in the courts of the four families, fear in the hearts of their strongest warriors. And with awakening came transformation. I felt it, the immortal force inside me growing stronger. Every heartbeat, every breath, every movement radiated energy beyond any mortal comprehension. The past Adrian Vale had been weak, bound by vows, honor, and family. That man no longer existed. I had become something entirely new, something eternal, something unstoppable. The streets trembled as I walked among the ruins, my presence alone bending reality. Kale and Elena followed, shadows at my side, both silent witnesses to the rebirth of an immortal. I stopped at the central square. A statue of the Vale patriarch once stood here, now toppled. I ran my fingers along the cracked stone, feeling history crumble beneath my touch. Every chain can be broken, I murmured. Every legacy can fall, and every enemy can be crushed. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. Adrian, what happens now? I looked up at the horizon. Smoke rose from distant cities, the Ashar Collective, the Ignis Dominion, and the twin families of Merrick and Thalon would not rest. They would strike again, stronger, deadlier, relentless. But I would be waiting. Now, I said, voice like steel, we rise beyond them. We build a new order, not ruled by families, not ruled by fear, but by power, immortal power. Kale's lips pressed together, a mixture of fear and respect. Elena swallowed hard, understanding the scale of what had just begun. And then, as the morning sun pierced the horizon, golden light reflecting off the broken city, I took my first step into this new world. Every enemy who had doubted me, every family that had turned against me, every whisper of betrayal, they would learn my name. They would remember it forever. He is a storm. He is immortal. He is a force that will reshape this world. And as the world waited for the next strike, I smiled, because for the first time in my existence, I was truly free. And nothing, not armies, not families, not betrayal, would ever stop me again.